Funding and support for this program provided by Travel and Transport and the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
I very much believe in this idea of trying to educate all of us that there's more than one way of thinking, that the reason why we have differences is hardwired into the languages that we learn. And when you go to another country, this is something that you very much begin to understand, is that it's not that the other person is wrong, it's they're different, and that different way of thinking may be just as valid as what we grew up with.
And that really helped my entire outlook on life. It's just you just look at things, you know, it's not good, it's bad, it's just different, and it's easier to adapt to things. It really helped me that way, and always looking for why. Why is something the way it is, instead of just accepting it or not accepting it at face value.
It's been many years ago, so it's hard for me to remember individual experiences, but the structure of the program is what made an impact on me, because it was, at the time, it was a 3-week trip, and each of us, I and the girl who was selected, each of us was placed in 3 different host families, each for a week. And so it was interesting for me to get a glimpse into the individual families, also in terms of social class. One father I was with, the first family, was a junior high school teacher. Very lovely guy, but they lived in a very modest home. And the second family I was with, the father owned a tea factory. And so they had some dough, and the house was very different, and they lived in a different way, and it was very interesting. And then the third family I was with, the father was a neurosurgeon. So that was even another step up in terms of, you know, social status and importance, and that was very interesting as well.
Here's what happened. Kaz grew up in the area of Kochi, and he thought it would be a good idea back a little more than 50 years to have a sister city relationship with Kochi. He went over and asked about that and discovered that they already had a sister city relationship.
So they were looking around for another city. At about the same time, there was a Dr. Tajima, a dentist from Shizuoka, who had come to the States for a conference. And before he left, the city fathers in Shizuoka asked him to go to Omaha and check us out, because they heard that Omaha was looking for a sister city relationship. And when he got here, I remember we met at the Fontenelle Hotel, and he became so excited because he heard that we were already making plans to become their sister city. And he called on the phone to Shizuoka and said, "What should I do?" And they said, "Well, proceed to, you have our okay to do whatever is necessary to make the connection." And that was actually the start, as far as I know, except that I heard that the U.S. was looking for a sister city relationship to ease the tension that was built up after the war. I mean, to promote better relationships.
Well, I think he was asked to join the group interested in a sister city association. And if he joins anything, he always accepts any job given to him. And I think one of them was organizing a group of people to go to Shizuoka. However, his first trip was not with a group. He went to Shizuoka with Al Frisbee from the Omaha World Herald, and they were to get information and bring it back to Omaha in order to get people interested in going there.
I think it's the members, the volunteers in Sister City. They believe strongly in the mission of citizen diplomacy and friendship between cities, and that goes for all 6 of our sister cities. We have warm relationships with all of those cities.
You've got to have a commitment from both sides of the divide, so to speak, to make sure that you have a long, sustaining relationship. And that was not taken for granted. We learned a lot of lessons from the Shizuoka relationship. And people like Mr. Kawai, who just went out of his way to make sure that we had the right people, we had the right delegations coming over from Shizuoka here. And that helped us actually cement relationships with Alapa and with NACE.
One of the first gifts that Omaha gave to the city of Shizuoka, and in particular to the mayor of Shizuoka, were longhorn steer horns. These are large. And so there are several pictures, first of all with Colonel John Harvey and his wife, who was the Air Force commander for the Japan Air Base, with the mayor of Shizuoka at that time, viewing these large steer horns. But when it came to transporting them from Omaha to Shizuoka and eventually hanging them over the door to the mayor's office, it's Makino. And the picture that you see is really him in the train station with these gigantic longhorn steer horns. And again, I think it's characteristic of the fact that from the very beginning, Makino was ready to do anything and everything to make this relationship work.
I just wish that there would be more knowledge about the actual sister city, because I know there's that Shizuoka has the Makino Scholarship. So I think lots of things like that, not just the drums, the taiko drums. We have the Sunpu Park and the gardens, and so just little things like that I think are very, very big. And even the buffalo, the bison, and the zoo, and in Shizuoka, yeah, I teach some children, and I tell them that's where they came from. They came from my city, and they're so excited. So then they want to know more about it. So just more and more, just education and people knowing about it. Yeah, the buffalo are a big attraction.
And there was quite a commotion about how they were going to send a buffalo over to Shizuoka, and so they figured out, well, they're going to send a calf, a baby calf, and that way they were able to keep their promise. When I was over there, one of the first years is the occasion when one of the delegations, when they came over there, they brought over a birthday cake for the buffalo calf. And it was the first year anniversary, and they brought a birthday cake from Omaha, and they threw it over the fence in the zoo to the buffalo.
After that gift, the Japanese kept on blessing Omaha with their thoughtfulness and their gifts, and Lauritsen Gardens received a second donation from the citizens of Shizuoka in the form of 22 ancient antique stone lanterns. These lanterns were intended to be placed in the garden, and they will be. They're on display now, today, at Lauritsen Gardens, and they represent many different styles of traditional Japanese lanterns. They're beautiful works of art, and people can come and see those. Quite an interesting dilemma to get them over here. United Airlines was very excited about bringing them here. They actually approached me and said, we'd love to bring lanterns over. And I questioned at the time United and said, well, that'd be great. Do you know a stone lantern? And I firmly believe they were thinking they were little railroad lanterns, because when the first lantern arrived and it weighed 3,000 pounds, United didn't quite know what to do with it, but they put it on a wide-body aircraft from Narita Airport and flew it to Chicago. Couldn't fly to Omaha because it was too heavy, so they had to truck it from Chicago. So we've had some interesting partnerships with different people all along. always going back to the Japanese desire to help us here in Omaha create a Japanese garden.
数年前には、敷地をオマハ市が提供していただいて日本庭園を作ったことがやっぱり大きな思い出であります。オマハの皆さんには大変親しまれている動物園だと聞いておりますが、これに対しましてもなんとかオマハ市との交流の長い交流の中で何か大きな足跡を残したいということで静岡の人たちが力を入れて作った日本庭園であります。これも一つこれからも長く山の皆さんに親しんでいただきたいというふうに思っております。
On the anniversary of our 40th years of friendship, Mr. Kawai again encouraged his friends and contacts in Shizuoka to think of another way to commemorate the anniversary. This was really spectacular. The design was important, but this one represented a real physical manifestation. And the idea came from Shizuoka to create the Sunpu Castle gate, a replica in 1/5 scale of true life. And this gate, the permanent gate, is in Shizuoka. It is the gate that you enter into the castle grounds of where the last shogun resided. It's a beautiful gate. Mr. Kwai was definite about wanting it to be an exact duplicate, and he found the absolute best craftsmen for the carpenters, for the designers, for the tile makers to make their traditional roof.
The Japanese team working on the gate is completely volunteer. Authentic, old-fashioned Japanese craftsmanship is imperative to these men. For these artisans, tradition is just as important as the physical creation of the gate. The design is a scaled-down replica of the entry gate into the Sunpu Castle in Japan, built between 1585 and 1586 by the powerful shogun Ieyasu Tokugawa.
おめでとうございます。
おめでとうございます。which means congratulations. Now you can have a sip.
We're delighted to have you in Omaha. I want to congratulate all the members of the sister cities from both cities on the completion of 40 wonderful years.
Thank you so much.
The Sunpu Gate marks only the beginning of the Japanese Garden project at Lauritsen Gardens, but the friendship between the sister cities took root many years ago. In the future, the growth of the garden will reflect the continuing relationship of Omaha and Shizuoka, sister cities.
And the people over there measured it so carefully, the tiles on the roof, everything about it. I think 25 to 30 men were involved, and when that gate was actually made over there but brought over here and established at Lauritsen Gardens, and they had the big celebration about it, I couldn't believe the enthusiasm and the effort and the exacting measurements and everything that went into that. It is remarkable. I wish every sister city had such a wonderful thing.
この50年の中でずっと河合さんは関わってらっしゃいましたけども、何が一番思い出に残っている出来事ですか？
スプレートを寄贈したことです。はい。
それは40周年の時ですね。
40周年です。はい。
その時の気持ちはどうでしたか？
いや、これでね、一番大きな静岡のシンボルがオマハにも残せたと。我々のグッドウィルがね、永久に getting on ですよね。
Let me start back on the campus, because as you probably remember, there was a man by the name of Mr. Halverson. I don't remember the organization he was with. The initials were CUP. So he came as a consultant to talk to us about how we should behave, the protocol of meeting the Japanese, and various things like that to get us used to what we needed to do once we got there. And I remember very clearly his saying to us, now, nothing's going to happen on this first visit. It simply will be a get acquainted visit, and you need to take it very easy because that's the way the Japanese work. And if that all goes well, then perhaps another visit, you may get an agreement signed. So we went there with that kind of a notion. When we got there, while there was some bowing that took place, pretty soon they stuck out their hand and we stuck out ours, and we knew we were on the right turf. Wonderful people.
Well, the aha moment that I had had a little bit of a sequential development, and that is in our very first meeting with the leadership of Shizuoka University, President Ken Maruyama, whom Chancellor Weber has mentioned, the other faculty people that we were dealing with there, Mr. Akaiwa, Professor Ishii. These individuals were such wonderful hosts when we first met up with them. So we arrived in Shizuoka City, part of the membership of the Sister City delegation visiting Shizuoka City at that time. We spent our first day only with Sister City activities. It was our second day in the afternoon that we were then to go up to Shizuoka University and meet with the faculty at the university and the leadership of the university, and meet some students as well.
So it was a wonderful experience, and we, before we left, we signed an accord with them. And I've always thought about that because we were led to believe that the bureaucracy would be on that end. The bureaucracy was here and trying to take it through our own regents, and so those are the kinds of things I remember with the first visit.
The importance of international education was not understood, or international relations, if you like, was not understood by more than 2% of the population here. And that has changed the attitude. I don't mean that alone, but at that time, it changed the attitudes of a lot of people.
I had been overseas with my family before going to Japan. We happened to be of Greek descent, and so I'd been in Greece a few times, and one time my father's job had taken us to Portugal for a few months. But the idea of going to the Far East was something far out. And I don't know, I was in junior achievement, and they used to pluck the boy and girl who went to Shizuoka from junior achievement, and that just sounded like the neatest thing. So I went through the selection process, I applied, and felt fortunate to get in. And I think the first thing probably it made me feel, other than the excitement of going to Japan, was I felt excited about Omaha, and that Omaha would put its faith, at least the Sister City Association would put its faith in me, you know, to represent the city.
Makino, his counterpart in Japan, was an employee of the city of Shizuoka from that time until about 1995 when he retired. And he was also committed to tourism and economic development. So when they first met in 1986, they became friends and played a major role at that time in a trade fair at the Westroads Shopping Center. In discussions with Makino later, he was involved in the Omaha Sister City much longer than that. In fact, he began his relationship with Omaha as early as 1963. That was almost 2 years before there was even an official relationship between the two. If we think about how he participated over the years, it certainly began as part of his job. In other words, he was an employee of the city of Shizuoka, and that was not unusual for the kind of tourism and economic development that were part of this relationship. But I think as we begin to talk about Makino the man, you'll find that he was a little man with a great big heart who really loved the city of Omaha, and in fact visited here 27 times during that particular relationship.
I've been involved with Omaha Sister Cities Association since 1973, over 40 years now. And I think one of the major things that drives me are the student exchanges. We have had student exchanges from junior highs and high school and universities. We've had young sports groups, and it's just a delight for me to see the new experiences that they have when they come and visit the United States. I've been overseas, and I just never forget the initial experiences I've had visiting a foreign country. One of the things I tell the host families when they are going to host a student, I said, just be aware of their customs as well as our customs. For instance, when a student comes into a home, one of the first things he'll do is take off his shoes, and that's not without even being asked, and that's just a custom that they have.
The purpose of Friends of Japan is not for Japanese students in Omaha. So the purpose is Japanese students will show American people or international students Japanese culture. So I want more American people to join the activity.
I think it's the members, the volunteers in Sister City. They believe strongly in the mission of citizen diplomacy and friendship between cities, and that goes for all 6 of our sister cities. We have warm relationships with all of those cities. I think it's important to continue this progress that we've made in sister cities, and we need to involve some younger people in order to continue the legacy. The original founders were some of the major business leaders, and they were on in age, but they got other younger people to take their place in moving this forward. So I think it's important for us to be engaged in getting more younger people involved. Everybody that is involved is very dedicated, and sometimes the way we can do that is because of the exchanges that we have had, and we have people back at the universities that are students, and they participate in carrying out their culture for various events for us. So we just have to look to the future and try to get some younger, permanent types of participants.
Omaha has become much more of an international community. It looks internationally. We have lots of folks from all over the world who come to Omaha because of the things that we offer. There's lots of business relationships.
For Omaha, it's been probably one of the best things that ever happened to us on those relationships. If you go to different other cities, as mayor, I attended a lot of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and one of the things we talked about a lot of times is who's your sister city, and it's a badge of honor in many ways. If you have one that is, in our case, I think we have 5, maybe 6 now, and that was quite a few for a city our size, and having one for 40 years at that time when I was mayor, now having one for 50 years is certainly, there's not a lot of them out there that have that long a relationship.
The people who started this Omaha Sister Cities relationship with Shizuoka 50 years ago, thanks to them, I have opportunity to come to the United States, then study and learn other cultures, and I could expand my perspectives, and also so I got many things from them, from this opportunity. Then I could meet many people. Then I had a chance to organize like Friends of Japan and relationship. Then I could learn how to communicate with people, not only Japanese but also international and American people. Then it's very helpful for me to not only to improve my English skills, but for expand my dream.
I'm Mayor Jean Stothert. Omaha and Shizuoka have a special bond. The 50th anniversary gives us the opportunity to thank the many people who have made this association a success. A special thank you to Mr. Kawai for your love of our two cities. I look forward to 2015 and visiting Shizuoka for the anniversary celebration.